In an age of constant connection, true understanding feels more distant than ever. Left, right, us, them. How is meaningful dialogue possible? Phil is an entrepreneur from Tucson, Arizona, and Laura runs a nonprofit in Boston, Massachusetts. They are on opposite sides of the political divide, yet they both share a common effort to live the gospel in their everyday lives. What is the key that opens the way to a sincere and memorable exchange of ideas? They opened up about precisely this in the following conversation.
I mean, to really be committed to living the gospel every day to the best of my ability. I usually start every day just asking God to give me the grace to be the best that I can be and to, have my actions glorify Him.
I mean, in many ways, I duplicate what she said. And in that is all of these things of loving, of being the first to love, of being patient, of being humble. Part of
not being preachy about it.
And not being preachy about it, which you and I can easily get preachy on things, can't we? But this conversation that we had yesterday, just to kind of come back to that, it was a political conversation, and we're on opposite sides of the table, but we had a very respectful, very fun conversation. And when I say respectful from two ways: being respectful on how we share our ideas, but also being respectful on how we listen. And you know what? Polarization can come around really easily just on an attitude of how you share something. If you share the same thing with an attitude and without an attitude, it could totally change whether there's polarization or not, okay? Because now you're sharing it out of respect. If you share an opinion, that opinion, yes, is your opinion, but it needs to be shared humbly. Because ultimately, the other, you probably know, doesn't share that opinion, and you don't want to be in their face saying you're absolutely wrong. They have an opinion too, and we learned a lot from each other yesterday. We learned a great deal,
The one moment I was sharing the impact, I run a nonprofit, and I was sharing with Phil the impact of the proposed budget cuts are having on the people that we help. And I was very frustrated because the reason given was we're eliminating waste and fraud. And I was so frustrated because there isn't waste and fraud in the work that we do. However, had I been asked, I would have pointed out, I could tell you exactly where the waste is. He learned from that, he understood, right? I don't want my taxpayer dollars being wasted any more than he does. And now I find that I do that just one-on-one with people. I invite them to explain to me, why do you think that? Why did you say that? What is it that you hope for? And then we build on that. And as soon as the other person realizes, I'm not there to catch them in a mistake or that I really want to hear, we almost always realize that we want the same goal. We just go about it a little bit differently, and we each have a better understanding of where they're going. It's a wonderful experience.
One of the things that we really experienced yesterday was there's more that we have in common than we think. And again, like she said, ultimately, we actually want the same thing. It's just maybe how we're getting there is a little bit different. And if we talk to each other about how to get there, we could probably come to a very amenable way of getting there. And, for lack of a better word, not that happy is necessary, but both sides being happy with the progress. I myself, I've got to admit, I can be a polarizing figure. But that's on me. I've got to be able to change that, So there's only less than a handful of people that I can have this kind of conversation with. Polarization, we need to try to overcome. There's absolutely no doubt, because these types of conversations need to happen more often.
Knowing that there's groups of people that are making the effort. In the United States, we have the Common Ground people, we have Focolare, we have Pope Leo speaking about building unity across divisions. That gives me hope.